Welcome to the Milan Edit 2026. I'm in conversation with designer duo Simone and Andrea, and I'm excited to ask you a few questions today. You know, the design week is so dynamic. We're literally running from pillar to post, and you all have brought this beautiful Prada frames to the public. What was the intention behind this? Because there are conversations that are happening everywhere, but Prada frames seems to slow down, give you a pause, which is what I really like, and then you are entering into different zones. So could you tell me a bit about that?
Of course.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for noticing that, because it's very intentional. So, as you said, the city is populated by many conversations and talks and presentation. But our intention since the beginning with Prada frames was, first of all, to design the way conversations are put forward in a way that was thoughtful and would allow content to come to people in a way that is intended. Also, it's very common in design events to celebrate the authorship of architects and designers.
Correct.
But it's multidisciplinary, because what we wanted is to add voices from different disciplines that generally are not part of the design conversation. Scientists, anthropologists, thinkers of all kinds that can help us think about design questions.
And then also the way we designed the symposium, first of all, every year is informed by the location. So it's a bit of a nomadic format. So every year we change venue. This year we are in this incredible complex that is called Santa Maria delle Grazie. That is one of the most important sacral space in Milano. So it's still, there are still news. And also because it's the house of the Last Supper from Leonardo da Vinci. Actually, it's behind us. And it's a very big one, big complex. And the idea with this symposium this year is also to have two different kind of experience, three kind of experience. There is the more simple format of the symposium, seated symposium in the sacristy, where we added a new element that is the one of the music. Then we had yesterday night, Sunday night, a beautiful event in the cathedral, where also musical performance by Anya Rani took place. And then instead we had the third format, that is the one that it's I would say the most dynamic one, is the visit to the complex, where we have Natalia Grabowska as a guest of honor that bring the people around the complex, explaining the various part of the building. And for us, this is very important, because how people receive and how people go through the space, it's also in a way informing the kind of attitude that people has. Once they participate. And
the experience, this courtyard, for example, it's so beautiful.
It looks to be in the countryside.
Absolutely. It just doesn't feel that you're in Milan, in the chaos that we are. Now, just moving a bit into the kind of work you all do. Your work is so investigative. Was this the process that you thought through from the very beginning that you started your studio? Or is it something that when you started working, you felt that there was a need to investigate?
When we founded FormaFantasma, our office, we initially were trying to convey all our ideas and preoccupations within objects. Because we all the time think about design as a discipline that is concerned with aesthetics, which I fully agree and support. But design is also about economics, it is also about ecology, it is about the culture of people and how we as a society decide to represent ourselves in a home, but also how we navigate the world in all different ways.
Correct.
In this sense, design need multiple tools, and I think the best way of being a designer today is to have an investigative attitude, to understand also in what we as designers are complicit, injustice, ecological disasters, and so on. So to offer possibly more thoughtful solutions.
That's really nice, and I hope more people think like that. And I think through Prada frames, you're bringing that not just to the designers, but you're also allowing the end user, the consumer, to understand the process. Because it's the consumer at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
It's what they want, right?
Yes.
But if we decide not to do that in a certain manner, I think things will start changing.
Absolutely.
That's the
Exactly.
intention?
And in a way, also,
Yes.
every year we change subject, in a way dissecting which are the possibility problematic of the industry. So last year we talked about infrastructure, this year we are talking about the production of images. The first year we talk about the resources, one of the most important resources in design is the one of the wood and the timber. And the second year we talk about instead the waste. So every year we try to go deep into the most important subject within our discipline.
You know, I was reading about your project that you did with timber, and then you investigated and went deep into the ethics of sourcing timber. Could you tell me a bit about
course.
that?
Yeah, very. I mean, that was a very important project for us because it was probably one of the first time when a cultural institution asked us to do a design exhibition
Okay.
at the Serpentine Galleries in London. But instead of focusing on products, we wanted to do a show that could inform us in first place, but also the public, on what lays behind a very complex industry. So we looked at how forests are managed, globally also, the politics behind it, who owns forests, the certifications in place, what are the struggles of people living in forests, thinking about the Amazons, for instance, and so on. And that is, I think, a very good way of being much more aware as a designer on what kind of industry you're tapping into. And it helped us when we work with a furniture company, Arctic, in Finland, to actually work with them and changing, instead of designing only new objects, actually changing with them the selections of timber to make their production more sustainable.
I think that's brilliant. I don't think anybody I know who's gone into the depth of finding out where your wood is coming from or how that table came into being. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned different disciplines, like in Prada Frames also you're bringing an anthropologist, you're bringing scientists. How do you weave and navigate through different disciplines?
Well, we are just curious, and we know that
I
our
like that,
knowledge is really limited. So when we approach a topic, we try to go broad with the spectrum of all the things we could discover within a topic. So even this year, when we were approaching images, of course, images is such an important medium nowadays. I mean, we're doing an interview that will go on a social media. It will be all about images.
And with AI, it is even more dramatic.
So it's, in a way, as always we do, we try to understand which are the best practitioners in the world that talks about specific issues, and we call them.
Wow.
There is also something else to say. I think we are very often, when we think about education, at least in Europe, it is all about the subdivisions of knowledge. But I think it's very important at this moment in time to actually look at entanglements and relations. So rather than look at what separates discipline, we are interested in looking what is the common ground. And I think, honestly, I really trust that's the best way forward. In education, in knowledge, and between people, it's much better to focus on what is in common rather than divisions and separations.
That's brilliant. I'm going to loop back in time a bit, and I want to ask you your time in your design school and how you all came together and thought through, starting a studio together. Just a little bit about your...
Well, me and Simone, we met many years ago now. It's more than 25 years ago when we were in Florence. And we were studying in the same education. Well, first of all, we got in love because we are a couple. And then through that, we also started to work together, more in a fun project. And then we decided to go together with one portfolio only. We applied to the Design Academy in Eindhoven. Then we stayed there for 2 years, where we did all the exams together. And the day after we finished the school, then we opened the studio. So in 2009, we opened the studio in Eindhoven. And from that moment on, we started to work together.
Oh, that's lovely.
As a professional. Yeah.
And do you have very distinct styles, or both your styles are very similar?
No, now I think it's impossible
You would open our wardrobes, you would see like similar clothing.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually, it's sometimes the same clothing.
Yeah, that's the problem. So no, definitely not. It's but in general, for everything, not only for clothing, for whatever we do, even when we go in different moments, I don't know, in the same museum, then sometimes we exchange the same photo. It's like, how did you see this? Well, of course, I also took a picture of that. So now it's Yeah,
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Because
it
how many
is.
couples can say, "Oh, we love working together"?
Yeah.
Indeed. Well,
rare.
sometimes it is difficult.
Of course.
But for another day.
Yeah, but for instance, this year with Prada Frame, we managed to have me following the tour and he following the thing in the sacristy. So, you know, we are divided. So it's
And we have
perfect.
different skills. Andrea is
exactly.
much more organized than me, for
Oh,
instance.
how sweet.
So it's much more structured, and so that helps also.
Now this has gone on record.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if he
it's-
says anything, you can tell him.
No, it's fine. No, it's good for many other things, but I'm not going to mention any of those.
But what a pleasure. And is there any one advice that you want to give to the younger generation? Though I do have a lot of belief in them, they are also questioning
course.
so many things. But is there something that you would like to tell them? And also, is there something that really concerns you about this generation?
I don't have particular concerns for this generation in the sense, for the following generation, in the sense that I don't think I'm in the position of having either a critique or a concern for them. I actually think the concerns that I share for them, it's the same concerns that I share for me, and it's like the state of the world
Right.
related to ecology, injustice, and many other questions that I think we're sharing. What I would give a suggestion to a young design student is to really think about, if they want to improve the world, to not feel paralyzed by the scale of the problems, knowing also that not always you can tackle your deeper interests with your work, and to judge what can be done based on their own ethical standards rather than comply to others.
Right. That's so important, because I think in today's day and age, we're literally just comparing ourselves to what others are doing, and that becomes the standard, which could be
Yeah.
not a very good standard to have.
No, indeed, we
anyway.
never look around, I have
Yeah.
to say. We all the time think we do what we think is relevant. So I think...
I actually have another suggestion, but if you are a design student, and it can sound like the opposite of what I just said, but it is not. When you are going through an exam, don't look at your work and compare your work to your peers.
Right.
Compare your work and judge your work
To your own. No.
to your heroes.
Oh.
So aim to be as good as they are, not the best in your classroom.
Lovely advice. And anything from you?
No, also for me, it's about not taking any kind of compromise, especially at the beginning. Maybe it's not when you're a student, but when you are like a young practitioner, to just do what you think is important for you. And you know, I remember also when we started the studio, especially when you have some hype around you, it's really easy that you get a lot of requests for commission. They're maybe really not good, but you just take it because you need to have some cash in your pocket. But still, that cash is so little that maybe it's better to say no instead of doing it.
That's a really tough one, actually, for the newcomers who are hustling.
Yes.
And that's another decision that they need to. It's a tough decision to
It's very
make.
difficult, but can I say something? Because maybe this is something that can be reassuring or scary for a young practitioner. When you finish school, you are used to live with other people very often, to live very frugal life. You don't have a lot of money, no matter if your parents help out or not. When you start to have an office, if you hire people, then actually you have to compromise more. Because you're also responsible for others. So to be honest, we were saying more no in the past than we were saying now. You know, it's different struggles.
That's
or
true.
What I mean to say is, at the beginning, also maybe you know now when you grow up, you also need you have other desires,
Yes.
and requires often more compromises on work level.
And that's such a very, very true scenario that you've presented. It is a dichotomy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely.
Yes. But really a pleasure talking to both of
same.
you.
The
Really
same for us. You have
such
been
a-
very kind and gracious with
You
your
have been
questions.
so kind to give us time to stir into the third space. Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And I hope to see you again next year. And I hope to be attending Prada Frames.